And welcome back, everyone, to Box Office Report. Today, on the 15th of June, 2025, about halfway, we're about at the halfway point of the year. Well, not quite there, like around, I want to say the 19th, 20th, the halfway point. Either way, though, we are here, and wow, I did not quite go. No, actually, that's not true. I did call it generally, I think I called it almost right, but oof, some of these drops. Okay, the good news. How to Train Your Dragon opens up this week with $83.7 million, putting it at number one spot. Lilo & Stitch dropped 52.1%, dropping to about 15.5. The Materialists, opens at about 12 million. And Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, dropped down another 30.5% to 10.3 million. And From the World of John Wick, The Ballerina, dropped 61.6%, 9.4 million in week 2. So let's start with the good here. How to Train Your Dragon opens with almost 84 million when the actuals come in. Now I'm getting our thing up here real quick to get all the How to Train Your Dragons. Where does it actually put it, by the way, for the How to Train Your Dragon franchise? Let's see now. How to Train Your Dragon. Because the original opened, I don't think it opened as large. Let's see here. How to Train Your Dragon, the first one, opened with only 43 million, but went on to make almost half a billion. Then How to Train Your Dragon 2 opened on opened at 49 million, and went on to make over 600 million. And then How to Train Your Dragon 3, The Hidden World, opened on, I think, the highest of the series, 55 million. But made less than the second one. So, I mean, altogether, this is a $1 billion franchise. But what this tells us right out the gate, an $83.7 million opening, is that, A, it's the biggest of the entire franchise. But B, it actually shows how much the original movies the first 3 movies were loved. Because you don't see live action films that are remakes of animated films have larger opening weekends like that, and literally double the original, well, more or less, or almost double. Unless the original is really well, maybe not beloved, but really well received. A lot of people like it, and therefore the nostalgia and curiosity of this new version is enough to bring people to the theater. And what you saw here is just that, 83.7 million is a fantastic number. Now, it is more expensive, I think, than the other movies. It's at a $150 million budget, but its marketing actually isn't all that huge. I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's 100 million marketing. I'd be willing to get it's about, in fact, why don't we just see if it's 100 million or dollars or not, if I can find How You Train Your Dragon. I want marketing budget. Do they have a marketing budget available for this film? My guess is it'd be about like $75 million. Which would put it about 225, which means that realistically, you're looking at a film that has about 350 to break even, roughly speaking. Marketing budget. Now we'll see in just a second. First off, if they have a marketing budget available. How to Train Your Dragon is estimated to be around $100 million. Okay, so it is about $100 million. You know what? All things being equal, I'm not surprised to see 100 million. I'd be more surprised and more shocked to see more than 100 million. Because like I said, it was a pretty decent marketing budget. I remember the 2 different trailers. They've been advertising the Burger King stuff. I'm sure there's been other things that I have not seen. But yeah, overall, it's been a good marketing budget overall. So that means that $100 million, this film is going to have to be about 400. No, not quite 400. About 375. About 375, if we can hit that, it'll be good. And look, 83.7 million, that's a good opening. That's a solid opening. Better opening than Ballerina had, that's for certain. And honestly, it's got a good leg up in the international markets too. Right now, it's almost at 200 million worldwide alone, so it's over halfway on just its opening worldwide weekend to making its money back. Now, where does it land ultimately? That's to be determined for the long forecast. But what does it ultimately say about movie-going traditions, trends going on right now, what the overall consensus is? So the overall consensus with the movie does seem to be that it's a good movie. Most people seem to be enjoying the movie, having a good time with it. The critics liked it overall. The audiences are liking it more than the critics. The also wide consensus is it's not as good as the animated film. It's just the harsh truth of remakes and reboots. You're not going to, what's the best word? You're not going to be able to separate yourself from the original with the remake. You're going to think on some level about the original. That's just going to happen. But the best you can do is try to just watch it as the movie that you're seeing, and then you can make your comparisons later on. But for what it's worth, right now the word's good, the reactions are good, the opening weekend's good. So this film's already on its way to make its money back. Like I said, it's got to do about $375, which means right now you're looking at a film that needs to still hit about $177, give or take. Oh, it's well in a range of doing that. I would not be shocked to see this at over 300 next week, easily. I mean, that's 103 million it would have to make to do so, 102. I mean, realistically, anything's possible in terms of what the long view forecast is. And 103 million, I'm saying that like it's not a lot, but in the context of opening and second weekend, and for a big release, that actually is not a very large gap to cross. So we'll see where it ultimately lands. But right now it's looking good. Speaking of which, Lilo and Stitch still looking good, 15.5 million, dropped only a little over 50%, which makes sense. You had direct competition with How to Train Your Dragon. Honestly, the fact that Lilo and Stitch is out in theaters right now probably took away a certain amount of money from it, to be honest, How to Train Your Dragon. Not a lot, maybe a couple million, but still, it's a couple million. Whereas Lilo and Stitch, I can now safely say Lilo and Stitch is not going to be crossing $1 billion. Still 142 away. You now have How to Train Your Dragon out, which is directly taking money away from this. And you got Elio coming out this week, which is going to be another Disney property that's going to be taking money away from it again. So, unfortunately, I do think if we're talking about it hitting the $1 billion club, it's probably not happening. It's still 142 off. That's not money it's got left in the tank. I would realistically say it's got maybe 30 million left domestically. So you would have to be figuring somehow another $110-ish million internationally. That's just not going to happen. Now, it may very well still hit 900 million. That's still very well in the realm of possibility. But you should know it doesn't need to. It made its money back in spades. It made its money back on opening weekend. That was the amazing, crazy thing about it. And now if you're doing the math, basically it made about $250 million worth of profit. It made them essentially an Avengers level amount of money for profit. And you know what? It deserved it. It was a very charming, very charming Disney remake. One of the better ones, I think. Was it perfect? No, but look, it's the summer movie going season, and it's a beloved classic reinvented, so it's going to definitely, bring the kids in, bring the families in, people who've seen the film and grown up with the film, love the film. That I don't think was in question, and it shows. It really does. And I'm glad that Disney isn't completely on its face this year, courtesy of Snow White and Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts are not really on their face from that, and not even from Brave New World. Those two did lose a little money, but it wasn't a huge loss on either side of the fence for those. Snow White was a loss, a big loss. So it's good that they're able to compensate for something like Snow White with something like Lilo and Stitch. And hopefully Elio and Fantastic Four coming out are also going to be big hits. I've liked the trailers for Elio fine, but I'll admit, I'm not sure how well this film's going to do. I don't see it being a really big release this week. I mean, if it can do over 50, I think that's going to be a good number. And I think that's what they would really hope for, because really, I don't want to say they don't know how to market Elio. I don't think that's right. But I will say this type of film doesn't seem to have a good hook, but who knows? It's a new animated family film. Maybe they'll do good. Now we got Materialists, and yeah, I've heard mixed things. I've seen that the audience really likes. The audience likes it, and the critics gave it a really good score. But people whose opinions I really, respect and who I will gravitate towards a lot of the time did not like it. They don't think they thought Dakota Johnson was very flat. The movie apparently takes itself too seriously, even though it's labeled as a comedy or romance. It's more of a dramedy apparently. Uh, but for all that, a $12 million opening weekend against what appears to be a $20 million budget for A24, that's a good opening weekend. That's over half your budget. Now, mind you, the film probably also has about 20 in marketing. So for this film to succeed, it needs to hit about 60 million. Now, to be fair, A24 is one of those studios that they definitely go more for the prestige in the box office. And so even if this film, even if this film doesn't succeed, it's not going to be like a big issue. They tend to make just good film and good content, and that's really what they go for. But the fact is, if we're just being real in terms of like the opening weekend, it's got a good opening weekend. 12 million against the $20 million budget. That's a good opening. But I don't know. We'll wait and see. This is unfortunately one because A, my car is iffy, and B, I've got to be conservative with my finances for the time being. I'm limiting myself really to one movie a week at the moment. So, yeah. Now that being said, that was the following week. We got F1 and Megan 2.0. I do want to see both of those. I'll say this. I'm going to limit myself to one movie a week, but I think there will be weeks I make an exception. I think that'll be it. This week's not going to be an exception. Between Elio and 28 years later, I'm probably seeing Elio, not 28 years later. I don't care enough about the 28-year franchise. I never really gravitated towards it. So yeah, Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning made another 10.3 million, dropping 30%. Good for it. Currently crossed 500 million, $506 million. So that is good, except the fact that the film is made on, if we just average the amount the film is made on, it's made on 350. Add on, I think it's estimated about 150 to 200 million dollars in marketing, I think. And you got a film that's still losing $100+ million. Again, why did they think they could make this movie for this much expense? Now, I heard someone say it's because of COVID that this film was this film's budget was this expensive, but I don't believe they did Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning back to back. I don't think they did. So I know for a fact Dead Reckoning's budget was overinflated because of COVID, because they were filming during that time. But I don't think Final Reckoning's was inflated because of COVID. Now maybe I'm wrong because they are back to back, so maybe it was the budget was always combined into like between them. So maybe that is the case. Otherwise, if that's not the case, there's no reason for it. Even let's just say the budget hadn't been inflated, and it's at, let's just say the lowest. Let's go to the lowest thing we can think of here, 250, which would be reasonable for a film by this scope, all that. And he still did the $150 million. You would still need $600 million just to break even. So even if I lowball this to the most reasonable possible number I can think of for a film like this, even if I lowballed it all the way to 200, which at this point now I'm like, I don't know if I'd go that far. That I think 250 is more in the where they might be having it, if we're talking about inflation versus non-inflation. But even if let's just say 200 million and 350, and I'm being generous on the 150 budget, by the way, marketing budget. Mission Impossible. Hold on, did I actually end up looking up the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning marketing budget? I did look it up. Okay, it was around 150. That is where, okay, I am getting that estimation right. Okay, so that does mean then we're still looking at a film that's at like 750 just to break freaking F even. Holy crap. So even again, if I went all the way down to 200 and it was 350, that means this film would have to hit 525 to break even, which means it's only just hitting the break even point right now. It's only just getting there. And it wasn't. So, look, it's a good movie. I'd go so far as to say it's a great movie. It was not a movie that needed to be made on that level of a budget. Not a damn chance in hell. And look, maybe it did have to come from COVID. Maybe it didn't. I don't think it did. Like I said, I don't think Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning were back to back consecutively filmed. I do believe there was like at least a year between those because, if I'm not mistaken, did Mission? No, okay. Dead Reckoning came out after Maverick, if I'm remembering correctly. Actually, that is a good question. Tom Cruise here. Hey, Tom Cruise. Maverick. When did Maverick come out? Because Dead Reckoning was last year. Top Gun. 1 second here. 2022. Okay. And then Dead Reckoning, I believe, was the year after. Yeah, definitely. So Maverick definitely came afterwards or beforehand. And yeah, so I don't know. All I know is I don't quite buy the COVID excuse for the inflated budget this time around. If it was the last one, I would buy it because I knew for a fact that got delayed and inflated because of COVID. But otherwise, either way, I mean, it's unfortunate that this and John Wick, two excellent action films, are just not doing that well at the box office. And Ballerina isn't even made on a huge budget. It's made on $90 million, which is reasonable for these types of movies. And it just did not have the opening weekend. It's currently just over $90 million, but it's on a $90 million budget. It dropped 61%. And see, now this is what's puzzling about this. It's barely 2 hours long. It's with credits. So this is what's puzzling about this one. It dropped 61%. It only opened on about $24 million. It's coming off the John Wick franchise, which is just been escalating, getting better and better, more popular. It's got John Wick in it. It's a high intensity action film. It's got good reviews, good word of mouth. So what went wrong here? So first off, someone basically said people don't want female-led action films. I am so freaking sick of that argument. I'm not saying you're sexist or anything. I'm just saying that argument doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, you might be saying, well, what do you mean? I mean, just look at all these times they try to shove women down our throat, or just look at the history of female-led stuff. Okay, let's look at three female-led things that I can think of right out the gate. Let's look at that Charlie's Angels thing, female-led action movie series, whatever. The problem immediately with that has nothing to do with the fact that it was female-led, because guess what? There are 2 Charlie's Angels movies that came out previously with Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, and I don't remember Drew Barrymore, and those films actually made quite a bit of money, at least enough to get a sequel. That was bad because that was just a bad movie. You could tell even from the trailers, it was not a good. It was very man-hating on that one. Like the writing on that was very. It was the stereotype that people go to about why people don't like female-led action movies. It was perpetuating the stereotype. That's what it was doing. But then let's go with Ocean's 8. Ocean's 8 was actually a pretty decent movie. And they were even tying it to the original. And you know, Ocean's 8 did not bomb at the box office at all. Now, mind you, this is not a straight Ocean's 8? Come on, Ocean's 8, wait. Ocean's 8? There we go. Oh, it wasn't the number, it was the word. Now, mind you, it's not really an action, but still. Female-led on a $70 million budget made almost $300 million. Probably had about $50 million in marketing. So that made money. That did. And I heard them talking about doing another Ocean's film. So that you can't count. And then you might go with, well, what about the Ghostbusters film? That, again, that's not a female lead action movie fault. That's a bad writing fault. That's a not good direction fault. You can't do that. And then you go with something like Tomb Raider, which came out a few years ago. Didn't blow up the box office. But let's see, Tomb Raider. Let's see here. Tomb Raider. Come on. Yeah, it didn't blow up the box office from what I understand, but Alicia Vikander was badass. She was definitely playing Lara Croft. Still made against a $94 million budget with about probably $50 to $70 million of marketing. 274, so it broke even and probably even made a little bit of money. And it was decently reviewed. You get Atomic Blonde, which was awesome, and everyone who saw it really liked it. Atomic Blonde. Let's see here. Atomic Blonde, which, yeah, 2017. Not this is 2017, but still. I mean, it still made $100 million against a $30 million budget. Maybe it didn't quite make its money back, but it got damn near close. So and look, these are just the examples I have off the top of my head. Sure, there are plenty of examples of female-led action movies that don't do well, but there's just as many male action movies that don't do well. So you know what? Your argument's invalid. Again, to the person who actually brought this up, I'm not trying to shame you or anything. I just don't like that argument because it does come off as a sexist argument, and there's not really a strong... The evidence that is for it is circumstantial evidence, and it's evidence you can just disprove by saying, well, guess what? All these guys have this opening too, and it didn't work out for them too. So, yeah. So, I don't believe it has anything to do really with that it's a female-led action movie. But the two things that I think actually did work against it. One, not that it's a female-led action movie, but it's a side character in John Wick. And it's possible, and I heard someone that it's a side character that we didn't even get introduced to in any of the movies, that we're getting introduced to in her own movie. Yeah, she was there in the background apparently, but we never actually met her. And when people go to see John Wick, they like that world, but we've grown accustomed to like Winston and John, obviously, the Bowery King, Table, all these characters that we actually do know. So I think that maybe played a factor. But I still go actually with my theory that this film, because it got pushed back, that hurt it because people kind of got oversaturated with the trailer and maybe just didn't care enough anymore by the time it came out. It's again the same issue with the hype died down. That's exactly what it was. The hype died. And hype is something you need to keep perpetually going. If you can't keep the hype going, whatever hype you got for the film is going to die. And if your hype dies, then you're going to suffer. Just case in point, Godzilla King of the Monsters. That first trailer showed up with Flight of the Bumblebee. Then boom, 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 dun, dun, dun. That was a great trailer. And it was great for the first while we saw it. Except the movie wasn't coming out for another goddamn year. And then you get the cooler trailer that comes out. Like, yeah, but it's still not coming out for a goddamn 6 months. And so, yeah, that actually did hurt it quite a bit, I think. And to be fair, this film wasn't supposed to come out this time. I can't remember what the original release date was for it, but it did get pushed at least once. Now, this is partially due, I believe, to the writer strikes happening. A lot of films got kind of pushed around because of the writer strikes, but unfortunately, I think that kind of killed its momentum. It had some good momentum for a while, and then it just crapped out. It's unfortunate, but maybe, I mean, who knows? It's at 40-ish million each, both domestically and internationally, so maybe it's going to be able to recover. I mean, anything's possible. It only has to hit like 210. So I guess I'll say this: if they could say, if this ends up hitting something like a 170 or plus, they'll still consider moving along with other John Wick projects. They might just have to rework their marketing strategy, make sure to stick to the release dates, all that. Plus, we know there is going to be a John Wick 5, so maybe then they'll, maybe that way, maybe they'll use that to piggyback off of other things. Because they've been talking about doing a Mr. Nobody movie, The Tracker, and John Wick 4, a Kane movie, which would be pretty awesome because Donnie Yen is the man. But who knows? Speaking of which, who knows? Karate Kid doesn't know. It's at 89.9 million. Now, it's on 40 million. It's probably got 30 in marketing. In fact, you know what? Karate Kid Legends. Let me see if there is a marketing budget for Karate Kid Legends yet. Karate Kid. Karate Kid Legends. Marketing budget. Okay, do we have a marketing budget in this or not? Online articles are read to suggest that's additional 20 million in marketing. Okay, so I mean, you know, okay, look, that I'm saying 30, but 20 would make sense. They didn't like do a really large marketing campaign on this movie. So if it is 20 million, like a lot of some articles and some people are suggesting, that would actually mean that this film is just on the cusp of breaking even. Even if it is more than 30, I'm saying it actually looks like this film will end in a positive spot financially. Not that it's going to be making top dollar, not that it's going to be breaking the hinges off the box office or anything like that. But the fact is, it would frankly just need to hit about, I think I did the math originally, 110. I think that's still in range for this movie. 110. It's gonna be a little. It's gonna be a little tight. It needs to make another 20 million roughly, but 110 is doable. And if it is the 20, then all this film actually has to do is, no joke, not even 100 million, which it will probably hit 100 million. And look, the film wasn't amazing, but I did enjoy myself with the film. It was nice to see Ralph Macchio back on screen. Screen. I do like seeing Jackie Chan. So, and Kung Fu was great. So, yeah, I enjoyed it for what it's worth. Final Destination, a film that we can actually talk about is making money after a long stint of 271 million. Now, it's pretty done its run, especially when you got 28 years later coming out this week. That's going to be putting a cap in that. But that said, it made its money back, baby. It did it in spades. 50 million in marketing, or 50 million in budget. I think at best 50 million in marketing, which I don't even think it was 50 million in marketing. It was probably closer to 30 or 40. So this film made bank. Is what it did. It made at least 80 million profit minimum. So Warner Brothers, between this, Sinners, and Minecraft, are getting drunk from the champagne bottles they're popping. So they got to be happy. Phoenician Scheme surprisingly dropped only about 51%. Now, Phoenician Scheme is made on about 30 million, so it's still not making its money back. But you know what? It doesn't necessarily need to. The Life of Chuck had expanded release, 21.1 million or $22.1 million. Almost 3 million. I've heard mixed things about it, but any money you make is good money. It's not bad money. Sinners, they're 1.4 million. It's pretty done its run. I believe it's at 361, almost 362. Yeah, 361. It's probably got an extra few million left in the tank, but that's about it. Bring Her Back, 1.4 million. It's at $20 million, so good for it. I know the budget's pretty low on that. Thunderbolts still got an extra million left in the tank, but it's also pretty dense. It's going to at least cross 380. Yay. Wish it could have done more. It was a damn good film. But whatever. Other than that, though, there's not much else to talk about because it's all the just minor stuff that doesn't make it either to the main screens or just wasn't relevant in the box office. So that's a box office, which, by the way, another $100 million weekend this weekend. Because between these two alone, that's what? 99 million. So you add that on there, that's 111 million. So it's almost, in fact, it's almost 130, almost 140 for the weekend this weekend. Actually, almost 150. So, damn good opening weekend, or damn good weekend at the box office again. Summer movie season's definitely helping that box office health. But, you know what else helps that box office help? Zombies. Rage zombies. There's also Brideheart, which I've been hearing a lot about, but when a mercenary group takes a lavish wedding hostage, they have no idea what they are in for. So the maid of honor is actually a secret agent ready to rain hell upon anyone. What? I know this is Rebel Wilson comedy. Look, I'm glad I'm glad for her health she lost weight. She always looked like a big girl she was always a big girl, and she definitely looked like she needed to, for health reasons, needed to lose weight. I'm also glad she, was open about who she was, came out of the closet. I think she did get married, or at least engaged. Good for her. But I have never been a Rebel Wilson fan. Look, she seems to have a fun personality to some extent, but I have just never been, I don't know what it is about her. Maybe it's just because she was typecast in the role she was typecast in. Maybe that's it. Maybe if I watch this and see her out of that basic style role, maybe I would enjoy her more. Like I said, I'm only seeing Elio this week, so it's kind of irrelevant. But in terms of the box office predictions, we got 28 years later, Elio and Brideheart. Okay. This becomes tough because I don't know what the projections on any of these are. Let me see here. 28 years later tracking. Let's see if we can find any sort of estimates from 28 years later tracking numbers. Let's see, tracking numbers. Okay, what is it tracking for? 28 years later. Okay, so 28 years later, it's tracking for around 41 million, and Box Office Theory anyway is saying this, and around 34 million to Elio. Okay, that's something for me to work with. So that would mean that How to Train Your Dragon would have to be dropping less than 50% in order to basically beat either of those, assuming that those are in the, well, to be 28 years later, assuming that number is correct. Let's just go in the assumption it is. That does sound like the right area to predict that in. Is it hypothetically possible that How to Train Your Dragon could do under a 50% drop? Yes. Do I think it's likely with both Lilo and Stitch still out and Elio coming out? No. Now, I don't think it's going to be a bad drop. I don't think it's going to be like a 60% drop. I think it'll be like low to mid 50s. But that would put it just under 40. And I'm going to say 28 years later because of that. Now, then I'm definitely putting How to Train Your Dragon. And then if Elio's prediction is right around 30-something, so I'll put that there. After that, though, we get into a little, I don't know, I have no idea what the pulse on Brideheart is. Because I also don't know if Brideheart is getting a wide release or not. It says wide release, but that could mean F all. Brideheart. Tracking. Okay, Brideheart tracking. Brideheart. Yes, it's Brideheart. So let's see, tracking numbers. Let's try that. Tracking numbers. I'm not finding anything on Briar, which tells me that even though it says wide release, it's not going to be like super wide. So I'm going to go 28 years later, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, screw it. I'll throw Brideheart on there afterwards because everything else is gonna take a very sad drop. And gonna be in sad number territory. So yeah, that's gonna be my prediction for next week. I could be dead wrong on this. Maybe. But we'll have to wait and see. Till then, though, what did you think of the box office this week? What do you attribute to the success of things like How to Train Your Dragon, The Materialist? What do you attribute to the downfall, to the lackluster continuing performance of things like Ballerina or Mission Impossible? Do you think Lilo and Stitch will hit $1 billion? Where do you think How to Train Your Dragon will land? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Later.